Welcome to an episode. I'm sort of taking over Real Vision YouTube channel. My name is Gali Russell. I run a finance tech-focused YouTube channel called HyperChange. There's a link in the description below. And today I'm coming on Real Vision to basically discuss my biggest investment, Tesla, why I'm long the company. I'm going to do about 20 to 30 minutes about, just going over from a really high level why I'm invested in the company, why I'm excited about their future, their product line, the valuation. We'll go through all of that stuff. And then I'm going to open it up to do actually a Q&A with, everyone who's in the live stream. You can do questions in the second half. Anything you want to know about Tesla, just leave it below. I kind of want to make it interactive as possible. I see only 18 people have joined, so maybe I should wait a second to see if more people come in. If you can hear me, maybe type that you can hear me or ask a question. Hear you. All right, we're just gonna get started then. So I'm long Tesla as my biggest investment, and just to give you a little bit of background behind my philosophy and what I'm looking at for companies that I'm invested in, my YouTube channel and sort of investing philosophy overall is predicated on this thing called HyperChange, which is a theory about the sort of economic era we're living in, what's happening with society and humanity and civilization overall, which is that technology is changing how we live our lives at a faster pace and basically an accelerating pace. And that is called hyperchange, rapid change. And so the backbone of this change is like Moore's law, chips being able to process a lot more data, the internet, everybody getting connected at once. I think these are huge trends that are changing every single industry. Software is eating the world, as Mark Andreessen said. And I think this is causing what I would call hyperchange, and every single industry, many industries are getting hugely disrupted. And so overlaying that theme of basically technological disruption is something that I'm really passionate about, which is this climate crisis or climate change, basically, reducing our dependence on fossil fuels. And one of my philosophies is the bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. So I see this convergence of technology changing a lot of industries, and we need to change a ton of fossil fuel-based industries, namely energy and transportation, and even food production and food systems to create a more sustainable society. And so through that lens, I think, the bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. These are huge industries. Transportation all runs on fossil fuels. Energy, for the most part, all runs on fossil fuels that we need to disrupt and change. And there's a huge opportunity to create a huge business that actually changes those industries. And so that is why, originally I was super interested in researching all these different ways to fight climate change. Like, are we going to grow algae in tubes in the desert and then run every car on biofuel? Like, how do you get off of burning oil, essentially? And then I discovered Tesla, Elon Musk. Their plan is to make really fast, electric cars with no compromise, that look cooler, that work better, that are smarter, and that are just a better, no compromise product overall. And that's how we're gonna get consumers to switch away from driving fossil fuels. So that is a huge opportunity. There are 90 million cars sold every year. Almost all of them are fossil fuel cars. I mean, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of billions in revenue, probably trillions in revenue in the global automotive industry overall, if you consider all the value that goes to parts of companies. So through that lens, that's one really important sort of distinction that I saw Tesla tackling. Then we have a paradigm shift occurring in transportation technology. Around 1900, we switched from the steam engine to the internal combustion engine. Now in 2010, we're about to make a similar sort of platform technology shift in the way transportation works by going to the electric motor instead of the internal combustion engine. And so this is a huge, huge switch that Tesla has pioneered. And so I think we're in the middle of this groundbreaking shift to electrification of electric vehicles. And although, Tesla is set to sell about 400,000 cars now, there's 90 million cars sold each year that are not electrified, that I think in the next, 10, 20 years, a significant portion of which will be electrified. So the company with the best electric vehicle technology is set to, become a really, really huge business. And so, if you guys have any questions or comments, by the way, feel free to leave them or just post them below. But so I see this huge opportunity for Tesla. The addressable market is massive to create a company that is leading the push towards electrification, right? So I think that is $1 trillion opportunity on some level. Then you have this whole notion that Detroit is very slow to change. They're all relying on the internal combustion engine. They have no incentives to essentially invest in this new technology. And that's where Tesla came. They said, we're going to go start from a totally clean slate, build a new car company for this new century, built on this new technology. And someone actually already commented this, leverage this principle called Wright's Law. Why was nobody doing this? Because batteries were way too expensive. It was way too expensive and difficult to launch an electric vehicle. It cost almost $100,000 just for the battery for the first Tesla sports car. So of course you think it's unfeasible to launch a mass market electric car if the battery loan's 100 grand. But as they produced more batteries and because of economies of scale, Tesla's greatly reduced the actual price of the battery pack of its cars. And this has enabled them first. They launched the Tesla Roadster, 250 grand sports car. Then they launched the Model S, about $100,000 sedan. Then they launched the Model 3, performance high-end long-range version, 50 to 60 grand. Now they have the standard range Model 3 out, 40 grand. So Tesla has been rapidly bringing to market cheaper and cheaper electric vehicles as they improve the efficiency of this battery technology. And now we've gotten to the point where we've reached the inflection point and they're not just selling, you're not really paying a premium for electric vehicles. It's actually a better deal than the internal combustion engine. And that's why the Model 3 was the best selling sedan in the US in the past 12 months in terms of revenue. That's right. An electric car is actually the best selling car in the US in revenue right now because I think it's a better, more compelling product than the internal combustion engine. So now we're at this inflection point, and I think Tesla's sort of gone 0 to 1 and proven that they have something that works. And now it's all about scaling this and doing it profitably and expanding this business model. And so let's talk about the economics of Tesla and sort of boil down into, what I think about the stock, why I think it's a good buy. So a little bit of history. I started following this company when it was probably 2008 or 2009, right before the Roadster was coming out. And so I think Tesla started commercializing this. They IPO'd around 2011, 2012. I remember them, getting ready to launch the Model S. And this is when I started basically getting super into the stock. I sort of had this thesis. They were the Apple of the automotive world waiting to happen. And I wrote a whole article in the Value Investing journal, which you can read from like 2012, basically outlining this thesis of the whole electrification of the auto industry. The Model S was vertically integrated. Tesla's first car to really start that, started investing in Tesla around $30 per share. And then, the Model S went from selling 2,000 units per year. People thought they were crazy that they would be able to sell 20,000 units per year, which was their goal. They did that the next year in 2013. The stock ends up going from like $30 to 200, mainly on a short squeeze. And then, fast forward now, they launched the Model X, they launched the Model 3. We've seen them go from 2,000 unit sales a year to projecting 360 to 400,000 unit sales this year. So through that lens, sort of maybe a long-winded explanation to get to this point of, I see Tesla as basically a startup electric vehicle company. They've gotten to this point where they're growing rapidly. Like I said, since I've been following the company 8 years, a 200-fold increase in production from 2,000 to 400,000 units per year. And I think that's going to scale to millions of units per year going forward. And so, and one of the reasons personally, I've been invested in Tesla for a long time, years and years, but now I'm actually more bullish on the company than ever, and I'm buying more and more stock, is because I think that we've sort of reached this inflection point where the company's executed, we've de-risked almost everything with the Tesla investment, and it's all about, they've gone 0 to 1. They've proven the model, they've proven it works, and then now it's all about scaling that globally. And so when I think about Tesla here at 220, 230 bucks a share, we're looking at a $40 billion market cap. So we were paying $40 billion for this asset that last year in 2018 generated $22 billion in revenue. So on a price sales trailing basis, it's actually less than 2x. So from that lens, I mean, some auto companies you might say are like 0.5x sales, but they're not growing at all. So Tesla's price sales ratio is actually not that expensive. Sorry, I was reading the chat. But first I want to get through this, and then I'm going to go through and answer a bunch of your questions. So I think of Tesla as this asset that, if they're only selling 400,000 cars per year, I think in the next 5 to 10 years, they can sell 4 million, 5 million cars per year. And let's just talk about them becoming, a really good sale of battery electric vehicles, not an autonomous vehicle company, because that's sort of another conversation. But, I think there's a clear path when you see Tesla scaling Model 3, what they're doing with Model Y next year, what they're going to do with the pickup truck, they're going to do with the semi truck. I think we have a clear ramp for Tesla to hit, go from that 22 billion in revenue last year to 50, 60, 70 billion, 100 billion in the next 3 or 4 years just from their battery electric vehicle business. And I think even if you assume the price sales ratio compresses to 1x or 0.5x, I still think you get upside on the name from there just based on that. And so The other thing that I think has been really interesting to see about Tesla that I personally was waiting is like, okay, now that they ramped the Model 3 and they have this much cheaper price, are they actually going to be able to make money on that product? And I think that's what we've seen now. In the past 12 months, Tesla has actually produced positive operating income, positive operating cash flow, positive free cash flow on a rolling 12-month basis. And so as much as flack as Tesla gets for having all these problems, for not, how much money they burn, a year ago, it was like, every single article coming out about Tesla is like, look how much money they're burning per minute. And now that Tesla's, if you actually rewrote that exact article, you would be reading it and be like, look how much money Tesla's printing this minute. So a lot of people, like, I think, and one of the lenses of this video that I want to make is why people misunderstand Tesla. And so I think that's, a big lens of it is it's such a big company. There's so much going on that it's really easy to read one article that looks well written and assume the company is in dire straits when they're really just cherry picking one fact and data and sort of like making it look like a much bigger deal than it is. So originally it was the free cash flow, then it was the gross margins, and they're always moving the sort of bare thesis of Tesla. And so I think a lot of people who don't really understand this company don't get it because it's such a complex story. There's so many moving parts. There's so much happening at once. And so getting back to the valuation, why I think the upside's there. So I see a battery electric vehicle business that I think could get to 100 billion in the near future. I think in the past 12 months, they've proven they can do that profitably. And so I think that's the case for compelling investment at today at 40 million. The other thing is what they're doing in the battery business. Basically, they've taken the same lithium ion cell. Tesla's pioneered a new type of electric vehicle. I think this gets overlooked. Everything that was EVs before was lead acid batteries. Tesla pioneered a lithium ion battery approach, essentially this little tube, the same type of battery that's in your laptop or smartphone. And this was totally not a thing for electric vehicles at all, but Tesla commercialized this new battery technology for electric vehicles in this entirely new platform. And because they were the first to do it and drive costs down, they have the cheapest batteries, and that's allowed them to produce a positive, in the 20% range gross margin and actually be able to make money on their cars. And so, yes, I am explaining the lithium tech because I think it's important. And so even though Tesla only has the Model S, X, and 3 now, what you have to understand is their battery technology is going to disrupt a ton more industries. And the cheaper their battery cost gets, the more industries that it makes economic sense to disrupt. And the first one about that is the peaker plants in this utility scale grid storage. Tesla just thought something called the Mega Pack, which was built on the world's largest battery project in Australia they just installed, that the government has been like blown away with and super happy with, which is they didn't need to have one of these super dirty peaker fossil fuel-based plants to come on and need extra energy. They can just tap into this Tesla battery. This was an unprecedented validation of utility scale grid storage that succeeded. And as a result, Tesla's been doubling down on ramping up its battery storage business. And now we're looking at them installing over 1 gigawatt hour onto 2 gigawatt hours per year, this becoming a multi-$100 billion business for Tesla in the background in their energy storage line. So when you think about Tesla, they have this battery electric car business that I think is going to go and take them to the next level. But then there's that battery technology is going to be used to disrupt totally other industries like the energy storage business. So those are two really exciting things with Tesla. The third piece of this investment is the autonomy piece. Everyone likes to talk about self-driving AI. What's the secret? The secret is data. It's all about miles on the road. Collecting the most data to train your neural net is going to be the way that someone actually achieves autonomy. Like the way that whenever you search in Google, you're training their neural net with every search. When every time you drive a Tesla, you're training its neural net on how to drive. And so this is really, really key because no other self-driving company has hundreds of thousands of cars driving around, training its neural net with data that the company can pull from to improve itself. So it's like orders and orders of magnitude. So if you're looking at a company like Waymo, like they're paying 2 engineers hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit and drive around all day. Like they're literally paying, like Tesla has people paying them to drive their car around. And that's the total flip, like a total flip in the economics of how this all works. And that's why I think Tesla is way ahead in autonomy. I was in Palo Alto a couple months ago and got the demo, was in the first ride of the demo software of Tesla. And it blew my mind, like just personally as like a human, like getting over the fact that no one's driving the car and you're watching it turn the wheel and move itself is really, really weird. Like for you to trust that is a really, really weird feeling that I did not think I would trust. But then I was in the car after this 20-minute ride, like it just totally, like I really genuinely felt safe in a car that no one was driving. And that personally for me was just such a big click. Like you can see it exactly, see which pedestrians are seeing. It sees exactly what, the stoplight, red, green, blue. It can read the stop sign. It knows the speed limit. It did a 4-way stop where there was only stop signs and took a left into oncoming traffic. Like These are complicated moves. And like I like to say, like, this is already better than my grandma at driving. And so like, it's so funny because then I was back in San Francisco and this lady is like texting about to come up to the stop sign, and I'm like waiting to see if I should cross. And normally I would have just kind of trusted her and crossed, but I'm like, she's texting, like, I just wish the Tesla was there with sensors and radar instead of this lady who's distracted driving. And so that's a long way of me saying I'm really impressed with Tesla's software. And I think if you haven't tried it yourself, the Navigate on Autopilot is like sort of a magical thing. Like, it's literally robotic, like, lane changes where the car changes lanes by itself. And so I think Tesla is using their fleet to get the most data to train this neural net. We're already seeing it in terms of features that it's the most advanced on the market. And I think, you know, they're talking about this robo-taxi Tesla network thesis where you're going to be able to rent your car out and let it make money for you. And it sounds totally crazy, but I think, you know, Tesla is ahead in this autonomous vehicle software, and the first company to get a real robo-taxi to work is going to be worth so much money. And so, oh, someone just made a comment about the wiring of the Model Y, which is a really interesting thing that I'm actually working on a video about. But anyway, so I think this race to be the first autonomous taxi company is huge. Tesla is winning it. And I think they actually really only have the only company that I've seen with actually like a real strategy to get there. Like, how are you going to get hundreds of thousands of cars on the road training your neural net? No other company has a game plan to do this. That's why I don't really see them as a serious threat there. So that's a long way of saying I'm about to open this up for questions. That my biggest investment right now is Tesla because A, I think we need to reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, and the best way to do that is to invest in technology that makes renewables cheaper, to make this an economical, like, to make there a real strong economic case to, you know, go renewable. I think Tesla is doing that. I think you can look at a page on how much CO2 has been displaced by their company. They even have a website about it, and it's like incredible. And so I really like the mission of Tesla, and the whole reason I like investing and do finance is because I want to be a part of companies that I believe in, that are building a future that I believe in, that I want to be a part of. And that's totally what Tesla is. Like, I want us to get off fossil fuels. I want us to use batteries. I want really cool, faster, sexier looking cars that are more futuristic, that run off software. Like, I think this is awesome. So, but I also think it's like a startup investment. You know, they're super risky. Elon Musk, crazy visionary founder, running the company super fast, 1,000,000 miles an hour. They make mistakes, but that's also their secret sauce of why they're so far ahead. They take crazy risks, but that's also why they're the first, you know, mover in terms of vehicle technology. They're the only car company that's built software first. I think that's going to be a huge differentiator as, you know, software is eating the world and software is eating the car. And so I think if they win the battery electric vehicle business, you could get a $100 billion company. I think who knows how big the energy business could become if they keep dropping the cost of those batteries, you know, looking at tens of billions in value there. And then the robo-taxi thesis is even more. And so if any of these puzzle pieces really work, I think you can get significant upside from investing today. But I think there's a lot of risk that goes along with that. So, you know, I think Tesla, my bull case of how I actually think this is going to pan out is they're going to wrap, you know, they've compounded revenue at 93% since I've been following the company. They were doing 200 million in revenue. Now they're doing 20 billion. So they literally 100-baggered their revenue, which is insane. So I think they're going to keep, that's just going to continue. They're going to keep dropping the cost of their battery technology. Model Y is going to come out. They're going to start selling millions of cars per year. I think the autonomy software is going to take longer than they expect, of course, but they will get that right. And then in 2024, 2025, that boosts the entire margin profile of how much you can make from a vehicle. And then we see Tesla, you know, many people around the world travel a lot of their miles instead of, you know, an Uber in a gas car or your personal car. It's going to drive around an electric robo-taxi. I think Tesla's going to get the bulk of that value. And I think if every, you know, millions of consumers are doing that, then we're looking at a company that's worth hundreds of billions. And so that's sort of the end game long-term vision that I'm hoping plays out, that I'm investing in. So anyway, that's sort of my long-winded rant, you know, just freestyle on why I'm long Tesla, why I'm excited about the company, you know, why I think they're ahead. But I really want to answer your questions. Like, if you have anything you're wondering, you're curious about, you can get as detailed as you want, as high level as you want about Tesla. Just let me know. How do I see integration of Bitcoin? Well, I love Bitcoin, but I don't think Bitcoin really plays into this at all. Yeah, so I'm totally an optimist. That's why I'm long Tesla. You know, like, I don't know. I think it's so funny to me because I got so much like hate from even Real Vision, where it's like they're like on the tweet yesterday about like, oh, Gali's coming on to talk about Tesla, and then everyone's like, oh my god, I can't believe you have Gali on like to talk about Tesla, like he's such a joke, he doesn't know anything, and like there's just so much hate in the world about it, and I'm like, you know, like I don't know, like I just openly acknowledge that Tesla could totally fail, and it's like risky, and you know, and it's I don't know, so I think. Yeah, I don't know if that made sense, but it's a startup investment and it's super risky and there's a lot of risks, and I can acknowledge that the company's done a lot of things wrong, but I also just think there's huge upside, and what gets overlooked often is how, like in 2012, it was a joke to say that electric car was going to be mainstream and the best-selling sedan in the country. Like you would literally laughed out of the room. I was laughed out of the room because I thought the Model S could sell 20,000 units a year. That was absurd. Like literally, like all my professors at NYU, I don't want to get into it, but the point is, you know, everyone who was way smarter than me told me that it wasn't possible because luxury sedans only sell, you know, the most is 15,000 units per year. That would mean they get the most market share. They outsell ICE cars. That's impossible. Electric vehicles never even done that. And so, like, the amount of layers, it's just crazy to me to watch that. And now, 8 years later, every single car company, every single competitor, first of all, the Model S did outsell them all. Now they're doing 50,000 units a year, the Model S, maybe a little less now, but every single other car company is copying Tesla as fast as you can. If that is not disruption, what is? Go back 8 years ago and read what everyone was saying about electric vehicles. They're a joke. They're never going to work. It's a toy for rich people. Every single company is now announcing their entire 180 pivot to copy Tesla as fast as they possibly can. This is the game plan playing out, textbook. This is exactly what I thought would happen 5 years ago when I started buying Tesla stock. I mean, they're going to realize that Tesla can make money. They're going to realize that it is the best-selling car. They're going to realize that consumers are getting educated about being green and about being sustainable and are going to place a premium on that. They're going to realize that software is going to be more important and be a bigger component of the car. They're going to realize that being a totally non-vertically integrated company, outsourcing 10 million parts to different suppliers around the world is going to be a roadblock to innovation and compartmentalize every decision of the vehicle. And you're not going to be able to start from scratch to actually build an electric vehicle with an electric skateboard. You know, it's just... It's mind-boggling to see how much the Gigafactory that Tesla was building in Nevada, that was a joke because they're going to spend billions of dollars on a battery factory no one needs. Now, the biggest roadblock every single car company is getting into when copying Tesla is they don't have enough batteries. And Tesla's foresight to build the battery factory 5 years ago is now like one of the biggest buildings in the entire world that was literally a pile of sand in the Nevada desert 5 years ago is now like their biggest competitive advantage because it brought down the cost of their batteries, and it's the reason they can actually make a positive gross margin selling EVs. So anyway, that was another tangent. So ready for another question? Let's see. Will the margin ever be high enough for 500 billions of dollars? I mean, that's right. All right, someone put a paid question, but I don't know how to go back to it. I'm sorry about that. Oh, there we go. Oh, someone asked why I haven't released a video on Project Titan, the Tesla solar thing. I haven't looked into it. I will say Tesla Daily is one of my favorite Tesla podcasts, and he just put out, and a good friend of mine, he's awesome, shout out to Rob, he just put out an episode on the Walmart Tesla fire situation. So if you, it's amazing, super in-depth, he did a ton of homework on that, so if you want to learn more about that, he knows way more than me, and that piece of content is like 10 minutes, and it will answer all of it. So I'll wait for more questions. Okay, the wiring on the Model Y. This is a tidbit. I like these sort of like really hard concrete examples of something really specific that actually show a broader trend of why Tesla's crushing it and moving so much faster. Pace of innovation, the most important metric when analyzing a company, especially in the era of hyperchange. How fast are you innovating? How fast are your products improving? So Tesla, the amount of wiring in the car gets more and more important the more you electrify the vehicle. So the Model 3, I believe, started with like 3 kilometers, or no, the Model S or something, had something like 3 kilometers of wiring. With the Model 3, they got it down to 1.5 kilometers. With this new Model Y like patent they're putting out and this new like revolutionary wiring architecture they keep talking about, they want to get it down to 100 meters. And so Sandy Munro, who's like the leading independent auto industry consultant in the world, just came out on Sean Mitchell's podcast, another Tesla YouTuber podcast person, saying that this is going to be the thing he's most excited to tear apart because he thinks this is going to be a game changer and it's going to put Tesla even further ahead in terms of what they're doing with the electronics of their cars. And I mean, that's why I think it's so funny to me, like the people who say Tesla's a fraud or like kind of a joke. It's like, I don't know. I kind of think you're a joke because you have people like Sandy Monroe, who's like literally like the most old school Detroit guy who didn't believe in Tesla at all and thought it was a joke and its biggest hater. And he literally tore apart the car with the world's leading automotive experts in Detroit. And his biggest conclusion is Tesla is 10 years ahead. That's crazy. Like, so anyway, I can keep ranting if we don't get any more questions. How long do I think the markets will be open until patience runs out? I mean, I don't think, you know, patience, like, if you're looking at what the financials are doing, you're sort of missing the bigger point here. Like, Tesla's a rapidly growing company. Like, they're producing record car sales in every year. Like, you'd be crazy. Every single car company on the planet wishes they had a subsidiary losing $400 million a quarter that was growing at, you know, 100% a year. That was the future of electric batteries. So I think it's really important to put in context, like, Tesla to me has been executing tremendously as a shareholder and the value's been growing. I mean, this is an asset that when I started buying it was doing, you know, 5 billion, 3 billion in revenue. Now they're doing almost 10x, you know, 22 billion in revenue, going to be 30 billion in revenue. As an owner of that asset, I'm like, okay, this was a company that was selling 2,000 cars. Now they're selling 400,000 cars when they're selling millions of cars. Do Tesla employees ever feed you stories to make? No. So yeah, and it's not like I have, you know, I'm not related to the Tesla the company at all. Like, I don't talk to them on a regular basis or anything. You know, the reason why I got involved with Tesla is because disruption of technological disruption and changing new industries is like, I'm looking for the most disruption that there is happening in the world. What industry is changing the fastest? What's the most exciting company I can find that is going to create so much value so quickly? And that, like, stumbling brought me to Tesla and to Elon Musk. So that's kind of like, you know, it's not like I like Elon Musk from a fanboy. It's like literally I'm like the science and the numbers brought me here. And I haven't seen, there hasn't been another car company that's came out of nowhere that's grown like this, that's electrified the whole industry. So here I am. I'm stuck with Tesla, you know? I think Tesla's passionate investors evaluate them the company with rose-colored glasses. Sure, you know, you get biased if you're long a company. I think people give them the benefit of the doubt a lot of the time, but I think the flip side of that is why? Because the brand is so strong. There's so much passion behind this company because there's a why behind the company exists. People want it to succeed because they're way more passionate in like what Tesla's building than any other car company. That's why it has a cult following. That's why every single brand or every single person who buys a Tesla, you know, is part of the cult. They're obsessed with it. That's what everybody said about Apple too. You know, if you're going to call millions of people choosing to put the planet first and choosing to buy a better product a cult, then go for it. But to me, that's just really smart people betting with a ton of their capital on what is a better product and what is a future they want to live in. And that's why Tesla's succeeding. You know, whether you call that ideology a cult or not, you know, I'm very proud to be part of a cult that thinks we need to radically transform our transportation and energy infrastructure to fossil fuels. You know, maybe that makes me crazy, but like, I'm so proud of that. So, what seem to care way more about financials in early HyperChange videos. I think there's a really important balance to strike when you're analyzing rapidly growing companies and technology startups, because financials are the rear view mirror. Like, you're looking in the past, you're looking at a business that's not mature, so you can't go only off of financials when it's a company that's growing so quickly. So I think that's, you know, and the investment and cult thing don't go together, but it's like, every single person who's commenting that just ignored the Apple analogy I made, which was like one of the best ways to generate alpha in the markets over the past 20 years. And so it's like, okay, you know, how do I explain record deliveries while shrinking CapEx? Brilliant. I love how the shorts try and like, so if Tesla's CapEx is increasing, they're going bankrupt because they're spending too much on CapEx. If their CapEx is going down, then they're not going to be able to grow at all because their CapEx is going down. But now they're growing and they're shrinking CapEx. So the shorts are like, oh my God, what's going on? Well, it's that simple. They're getting that much more efficient at building the cars. Everyone's laughing at them for the 10. I actually went to Fremont, California and visited it. What's happening there is Tesla's iterating on the pace of its manufacturing line 10 times faster than anybody else. And their units of CapEx spent per vehicle produced are dropping like a cliff. And that's huge. That's a game changer. That's why they're spending half as much on CapEx to get the Model Y with the amount of units. I mean, like, this is this exactly what I wanted. I mean, Tesla, those are the numbers that are proving that Tesla's rapidly innovating and their pace of innovation is leading to dramatically lower capital requirements per vehicle produced, literally charting out the financial framework to their being the most profitable car company. So it's crazy. So Tesla does have a little bit of debt, but they have $5 billion in cash. None of the debt is coming due. They recently just paid off a bunch. So they actually, Tesla, this is the other thing about Tesla. They previously, I used to be like pounding the table, like they need to raise money, they need to raise money. And now they did raise money and they're profitable. And so Tesla's never had a bigger cash cushion. They've never been like more profitable as a core entity. They're still growing. So the that's what I was talking about earlier, like the de-riskedness of Tesla has never been better. They already came out with the chip. They already figured out how to build the Model Y or the Model 3. The China factory, like everyone's talking about the trade war in China. You know, my CEO and my company that I'm invested in with all my assets was smart enough to make a deal with the government to build their first wholly owned factory there, and is going to make a killing in China regardless of what happens in this political turmoil, you know? So I think Tesla's management is off the charts brilliant, because this is a trade war that's affecting almost every other auto company on the planet, yet I'm immune and my investments almost benefit, like you know, Volkswagen, GM, Ford, Mercedes, BMW, these are all huge car companies with an amazing technological and manufacturing prowess, yet none of them got the ability to be the first factory in China because they don't have the expertise in electric vehicles. That's why Volkswagen is flip-flopping every other day on whether they want to buy a stake in Tesla, because they can't figure out how to build an electric vehicle, you know, sustainably or profitably or efficiently. You know, look at the cobalt percentage of the Volkswagen like ID3, like their car that's coming out in 3 years or whatever, that like they're hyping up as their electric vehicle, 12 to 14% cobalt. You know, a huge conflict metal. They can't figure out how to build a good battery without cobalt. The Model 3 has a better battery they're building for cheaper with 2.8% cobalt. I mean, this is the hard statistics proving that Tesla's battery technology is eons ahead in terms of cost, efficiency, sustainability profile. So it's, you know, I don't know. I'm really excited because the other thing that's not getting enough attention here is Tesla's biggest challenge is scaling battery cell production. This is the challenge that every other car company hasn't even run into, because none of them are even selling hundreds of thousands of electric cars per year, so they don't even run into this problem. Tesla's running into the problem of there isn't enough batteries in the world for us to buy. We need to build more batteries. And so the last conference call, Elon Musk outlined how at the Battery Investor Day, they want to talk about a roadmap to get to 1 terawatt hour of battery cell production. This is the roadmap. This is going from that 25 to 30 gigawatt hours to terawatts that actually moves the needle on climate change, that actually changes a huge part of the transportation or energy industry, because we need that many batteries. And so Tesla's about to unveil this new technological solution, which I think is based on their acquisition of Maxwell Technologies. I mean, a ton of videos about this you can watch on my channel. And that's going to be a game-changing technology that allows them to produce a lot of batteries quickly for a cheap price, that sort of unlocks this next phase of their battery technology and product line, that is really going to be, because they're not competing with the other electric vehicle makers. That's a joke. They're competing with the other 89.5 million internal combustion engine units sold. So when they figure out how to build batteries cheaper for less, that's directly going to, you know, expand their market and start eating into more and more internal combustion engine cars. Any other questions? Cash flow machine. Actually, I think I was right about that, because they produced this question's like, oh, you said Tesla was a cash flow machine, but they're not. But in the past 12 months, well, in the past quarter, they produced 614 of operating cash flow. I don't know. A thing that pumps out 614 million a quarter seems like a cash flow machine to me. But even if you take the adjusted, like add up the last 4 quarters of Tesla's revenue, gross profit, operating income, net income, operating cash flow, free cash flow, you'll see the EBIT's positive. You'll see the operating cash flow is positive. You'll see the free cash flow is positive. It's all publicly available. Tesla's made money in the last 12 months. That's why they have, you know, so, oh, CTO. So, the retirement of JT Straubel, man, there's so much hate in this. Like, everyone's so angry. It's kind of funny. Yeah, that's the other thing I kind of wanted to say about Tesla. The people who are long the stock, and like I talk to a lot of owners, as many as I can. I go to the shareholder meeting. I talk to like so many people, or as many as I can, about Tesla. And in the community, like there's such a nice, positive people in the community. And it's like, I'm really proud to be a part of the Tesla community. And it's just like, the integrity is incredible. And it's just like nice people who are in this for the right reasons because they want to be to a more exciting, better, be part of this more exciting, better future sort of vision. So it's so funny to me that like all these other groups of people are really angry all the time and try and tear Tesla down at any single turn, like all the people in this live stream, because it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a company that started from scratch 10 years ago that's changed an entire global trillion-dollar industry, that's hustled, that's like a total underdog success story, that's out here winning, changing the world. Like, it's awesome. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if you, like, don't hate on it. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing hating on it? Like, this is like what the world needs. This is so inspiring. Like, scroll these Marvel superhero movies. Like, we need more Elon Musks. Like, this is the story that nobody's talking about. The electric car is the best-selling car in America. Like, this is the best-selling sedan in America. This is like a dream come true for people who wanted to see us transition to a sustainable environment. Like, this is an untold success story of bringing back American jobs, of bringing back American high tech, like, of bringing back technology manufacturing to America. This is like, you know, I don't know. I think people aren't telling that story, but I think that's going to come out. And I think over the next few years, people are going to start to realize the true American success story that Tesla is, and the value that that's created for the country. And I think the economy, really. So any more questions? I'm trying to think what I should talk about. Like, should I talk more numbers? Like, do you guys want to know products? Why do I think there's so much hate for Tesla? I mean, to me, it's a sign of their success. That's what I've realized. Is like having so many people spend so much time and energy hating on something is a sign of its validation and disruption. Like, go read about Amazon 10 or 20 years ago. You know, go read about Apple right after the smartphone. Like, you know what I mean? There was this same like powerful hate. I think it's getting magnified in the sort of Twitter clickbait headline era that we're in right now, but this is something that's very common when the status quo changes, when things get disrupted, when there's a lot of people, when there's hundreds of billions of dollars of industries that are totally getting crushed. You know, there's a lot of people that don't want Tesla to succeed. And I think that's just the cause of the hate. And like, we're doing something different and you're disrupting, you know. Jeff Bezos has this amazing quote that's like, if you never want to get criticized, never do anything different. And so I think that's, you know, the other thing, the biggest reason I'm invested in Tesla really though is Elon Musk. I mean, this guy he started Zip2 out of college, sold it for a couple $100 million, software company, just like coded his own software startup, sleeping on couches, sells it for a couple $100 million, boss move. Like, I don't know how many people in the comments have done that. Next thing he does, starts PayPal or X.com, merges with PayPal, they end up flipping it for a couple billion. Mind you, now PayPal's its own standalone company worth like 70 billion, pumping out billions per quarter in profit. So that's what Elon created. Then he goes on to start SpaceX, now worth 35 billion, returning space launches to the US. Reusable rocket technology has been created from scratch, something Boeing and Lockheed said was impossible. And he's created billions and billions of dollars of shareholder value, created the #1 place for engineering students in the world to work, brought tens of thousands of high-paying jobs to the US. Then he started, you know, so, and now Tesla. And so it's like, it's hard for me to think of a better entrepreneur to put my money on. Like, I genuinely think this guy is like Albert Einstein, but he's actually putting his inventions to work. I mean, it's really unique to see someone in history who goes from inventing this idea, creating a new technology, to bringing it to market, to creating it so millions of people could use that technology and making it better than the status quo. I mean, that's what's happened with Tesla. That's what Elon Musk does. And so, you know, I look at this as a privilege to invest in one of the greatest entrepreneurs in our era in his prime when he's 47. He has an unbelievable track record when he's going after a huge opportunity to change the world. I mean, this is the stuff that gets me excited. I think of myself sort of like a venture capitalist, and that's the kind of bet Tesla is. Like, yeah, there's a lot of risk. Yeah, it could fail, but like, it's exciting, it's new, it's different. They're trying something big, and if it works, it's going to make a ton of money. And like, that is what Tesla is. It's kind of a go big or go home. It's like, we're either changing the world and we're giving it our shot, or it fails. And like, I don't know. And I kind of have the attitude that like, even if it does fail, like, I will still be so proud to have invested in Tesla, because if this hadn't happened, the industry would not be going electric. You know, everybody copying Tesla to go electric is exactly what we want. The second that Amazon wrote a $700 million check to invest in Rivian, the other EV company, cemented the future of electric vehicles. And that is exactly what Elon and all the Tesla investors really wanted from day one. So I think that's another thing about Tesla a lot of people don't get in the finance world, and why a lot of smart people don't get it is because it's like, this is about so much more than a car company. Like, this is about a future, this is about a mission, this is about a why. And I think that's really important in terms of people actually wanting to buy the products. Every purchase you make of Tesla is literally like a missile fired at the fossil fuel industry. You're directly putting that capital to R&D to make batteries and renewables cheaper for everyone. So literally, and that to me is such a powerful concept. I don't even think Tesla's doing a good enough job marketing that, of like, all those people who bought the Roadster, all those people who bought the Model S have literally built the pathway to reduce battery technology to change and get us off fossil fuels. That's crazy. And so in many ways, Tesla has already succeeded. All right, any more questions? I feel like I should sign off pretty soon. I don't think all cars will be Tesla. That's the good thing, is like, there's 90 million cars sold a year. I only need, 5 million of those sold to be Teslas to actually, for this to work out. Okay, wait. Question. Tesla only sells, okay, Model 3 China. So I think Tesla is going to be extremely capital efficient with what they're doing in China, and we should watch how that hits the balance sheet. Are they going to be able to recoup their capital investment? I think yes. I think the Chinese government is doing everything they can to make this a huge, huge success. I mean, when did the tariffs start for China for automotive imports? December 15th. That's almost too perfectly timed for when Tesla's going to start domestically producing their own cars. And then why do they need to import any? They just brought online a huge new factory. So I think this entire Tesla, I think China is going to be a microcosm of why people don't get Tesla, and why in the US we're reading the situation wrong. Because while we're all debating, oh, is Tesla working? What is it? The Chinese government, the world's largest country, the country that with the economy that's about to be the world's largest economy, is signing a deal with Tesla as fast as they can, because that's how much their technology is worth, and that's how much they want Tesla to be there. And that's how much Tesla's winning, is no other automaker on the planet was able to build that first EV factory in China, but they wanted Tesla. I mean, this is a sign that the smartest governments in the world are identifying the leader. And, so I think these are a lot of like interesting clues about Tesla. And I think the China situation, all those learnings about manufacturing in the US are going to prove for a very profitable Model 3 launch in China, and that's set to come on in the next 6 months to a year, which I think could be a huge catalyst for the stock, because China is the world's largest vehicle and electric vehicle market in the world. All right, well, I don't see too many more questions coming in, so this wraps up my live stream. Huge shout out to, okay, Halter Ferguson Financial, thank you, shout out. So he's saying they're paying $500 million up front to make $1.2 million at 20% gross margin. Yes, I think that's good. Oh, Real Vision Finance, thank you. Ooh, thank you, Real Vision, for saving the day with an epic question. What do you think of Tesla's decision not to use LiDAR tech for full self-driving? Brilliant. So glad you asked this. So, LiDAR, this crazy little sensor that goes on top of the car that makes Waymo's cars, minivans, look really ugly. That's their sensor. Elon Musk has been going crazy, being like, we don't need LiDAR. We don't need LiDAR. It's going to be a waste of time. It's going to be a waste of energy. It's a crutch to get to full self-driving. It's a crutch in terms of technology and cost. He was the only one saying that for so long. And first of all, a little backstory, shout out to my guy, Matty Mogul. Matt Joyce told me this on my podcast. Elon Musk designed a custom LiDAR system from scratch to reland his reusable rockets. So the guy knows a thing or two about how LiDAR works in cutting edge situations. And now he's basically, his camera's vision first approach. I mean, the Tesla's basically putting 8 human eyes all around the car that are looking every direction at once. And they do have a forward facing radar. So if you think about it, you drive with your 2 eyes, and you get everywhere. The whole world works like that. So if there's a computer with 8 eyes that can see everything at once, in theory, that should be good enough to get us all around. So I think that's, at a high level, a simple way to understand this. The second thing is, this isn't just me saying it. It's not just Elon saying it anymore. Lex Friedman, the MIT professor, who's a leading artificial intelligence researcher, just came out and seems to validate this approach after having Elon Musk on his podcast. And that same guy, Lex Friedman, just had a guy, I forget his name, George something, another self-driving guy who's starting his own startup, super critical of Tesla, just came out and said that Tesla would be first in the race to L5 autonomy. So now you have all these independent third-party people, industry leaders are saying, screw LiDAR, it was wrong. Anthony Lewandowski, this is the biggest one, the guy who started Waymo, co-founder of Waymo, also went on to co-found a company called Otto, which got bought by Uber to lead the backbone of their self-driving unit. This guy, the backbone of Waymo and of Uber's advanced technology group, their self-driving unit, or he was heavily involved in that, heavily involved in getting them on LiDAR, has now come out and said, whoops, I was wrong, Elon was right, we don't need LiDAR, my new startup is not using LiDAR. So you have all of these industry leaders now circling back on their words and saying that Elon is right. And so I think I'm not a scientist, I'm not a tech guy, I'm not like an expert in, autonomous artificial vision networks. I'm just learning as much as I can as an investor. But to me, when I see independent thought leaders and third-party people that are experts say that Tesla is now right, and that's a huge sign. It's also like the other thing we're not even talking about is what about, okay, let's say the tech is even. Let's say everybody just uses the vision-based approach. Well, where's everybody else going to get 500,000 cars driving around the road to train all their cameras, to train their neural net? So that, to me, when you dive into the self-driving thing, everyone else what are they using? Off-the-shelf NVIDIA chips? Good luck with that. You're sacrificing power performance, not in the right ways, because that's a GPU, not designed for a car to drive itself. So Tesla hired Pete Bannon, one of Silicon Valley's leading chip designers in the world, to build a chipset from scratch for their fully self-driving computer, which they just started installing in their cars, which is materially improving performance. I mean, you're talking about huge disruption in the hardware artificial intelligence chip processing market. You're talking about new cutting-edge algorithms. You're talking about a fleet approach. You're talking about, them using cameras instead of LiDAR. There's like 5 or 6 layers that what I call combine into what Tesla's vertical autonomy stack. And that stack of vertical technology, instead of, Ford makes the car, Uber has the network, AI gives the self-driving tech, that hodgepodge of tech is moving way slower, is way harder. I don't think it's going to get it done. And Tesla's vertical autonomy stack is the only real viable approach to actually bring self-driving to market. So I think this whole, and we're going to see this play out in the next couple years, and it's going to be fascinating. But my understanding was I was super nervous. I was like, damn, like, we're counting on Elon. He's the only guy who says LiDAR is going to work. Like, Waymo, like, it seems like they know what they're doing. You know what I mean? And now seeing everyone else go back to say Elon's actually right, whoops, we were wrong, I think has made me feel a lot better about it. And additionally, like, I'm in Teslas all the time. Like, I'm 6 months ago, they didn't have Navigate on Autopilot. Now they have Navigate on Autopilot. Like, you can feel the car getting smarter. Like, it's getting better. Like, you feel the car getting smarter every day and moving towards full self-driving. So that's not a feeling or situation I have from being in any other product in the world. So Real Vision, you got another question? Yep. Yes, there is. And I did kind of talk about this earlier, but I think that is the most underappreciated thing about self-driving is, like, it's going to change what we do as humans. Like, that's the biggest thing. Like, everyone's like, oh, well, first to level 5 is going to change the game. Like, I think this is so interesting to think about. Our entire cities are designed with cars in mind, with vehicle ownership. That's how we do city layout. Like, I was just traveling, and my biggest takeaway is, like, cities, the way urban planning and design works impacts our lives tremendously. How cities are designed, how we use our space. Go to anywhere in America, it's garbage. You see parking lots, at huge just cement parking lots where people just park and we're just walking on like these huge cement concrete deserts. Like, this is hideous. Like, what are we doing with ourselves? Like, we have all this amazing technology. Like, shouldn't we be living in beautiful cities? I don't know. I think there's a huge, I think there's going to be a huge challenge to getting over the self-driving thing, but I think you'll be in the car 5 times, and after 5 times, you won't care, and it'll be fine. But on the flip side, I think the way we can change the way cities are designed is really exciting, and why, like, I'm so passionate about Tesla and this technology is because this is what gets me excited. Like, this is why I'm an investor. Like, I want to bring a technology to market that's going to allow us to live our lives better and improve cities, and I think that's what self-driving, is going to bring to the table. But I mean, I don't know, like, as a side story, like, my grandma, when she drives, like, she couldn't turn her neck to the left. So she's like, whenever I go left, I'm just, like, trusting it. You know what I mean? I'm, like, hearing that. I'm, like, I'm already terrified that Grammy's on the road. Like, give me the self-driving car. I'll take that any day. So I don't know. I think people are going to warm up to that way quicker than you realize. And if you actually think about the flip side, as human drivers is a problem, you know how many drunk drivers there are? I mean, this is, you know how many distracted texting drivers there are? I mean, humans are horrible at driving. This is one of the leading causes of death and injury and healthcare costs in economies across the world. I think as the data comes out that shows that EVs are safer, it may actually get illegal for humans to drive. I mean, this is going to turn into not a case about our feelings and psychological perception. It's going to turn into a fact about the data of what's best for our overall economy. You know, this is actually a health crisis that humans are driving because it's so many people are dying. And so when you think about the flip side of that, yeah. Anyway, another question, Real Vision or someone else? I'm trying to think of. Awesome. All right. Well, huge shout out to Real Vision for letting me do this stream. I had a ton of fun. Of course, I'm always down to talk Tesla. You can check out my channel, www.youtube.com/HyperChange and yeah, oh, pickup truck is going to be epic. Anyway, HyperChange, I'll see you guys next time. Tesla, to sum it up in like 30 seconds, I think is an incredibly fascinating, probably the most exciting, controversial company in the world right now. So interesting to follow. I think they're attacking a huge disruption to transform our energy and our transportation markets. We're going from, internal combustion engine to electric to autonomy. These are huge changes, potential for a huge company to get built. I think Elon Musk is the guy to lead them there with the right technology and the right strategy to capture a ton of that value. I think if it works, you can make multiples on your money. That's why I'm invested in it, because I love the social mission. I think there's financial upside. I think the business model makes sense. I think they've executed like crazy since I've been following the company, and it's just fun. So that's it. Anyway, I'll peace out.